Welcome to the historic farm in Thorn Creek Woods. It was bought by the state back in the late 70s as part of the preserve. They wanted to preserve this as an example of a small family farm. In 1905, the Hornicek family, Father Joseph worked at the son's farm for a while. Then they bought the land here in 1918. Joe and his wife, Marie, raised 4 girls here. One that was born in Bohemia and the other 3 were born here. The first building that the Hornicek family built was, of course, the barn in the early 20s. It took them about 10 years to build the garage and the coop, and then building the house. This house wasn't then completed until about 1930. The only building on the site that was not built by Joe and his sons-in-law or neighbors and helpers is our garden shed, which was from Sears. Let's go see some buildings. This building is the smokehouse. There is an old concrete culvert, and then right about here, where that culvert ended, they dug a deep pit and built a fire there. The fire smoldered, the smoke was directed through that pipe and into this building at the bottom, and then they would hang the carcass or the side of beef or the pig or whatever, and the smoke would permeate and smoke it. We have used it for years as storage for garden hoses to get water from up here at the pump out to the vegetable gardens. The house is not a farmhouse. It's considered a Chicago bungalow. This is the one and only bathroom. Like most houses in the early 1900s and up to, say, 1950s, an outhouse was the only option. There's no indoor plumbing. It's completely roofed and it has shingles on it. This one was intended for little chicks and rabbits. There are windows on this backside, and then there are doors that could be lifted up to allow the little ones to come out, and presumably there was a little pen back here, you know, that they would go into. When we got here in the late 70s, each one of these little buildings was filled with scrap, because of course that's wonderful fire starter, and the only way to keep warm is a wood stove at this house. So that's the segue to the wood pile. This pile right here is a third of what it takes to keep the house warm in the winter. Wood needs to be chopped up into rounds and the right length, and then split, and then stacked in this way such that there is airflow through the wood for about 2 years to be the best burning wood. This is the only source of water for the farm, the pump. This is the old original pump top part of it. There have been 3 wells dug here. They're not down in the deep aquifer. They're in something more shallow called a sand lens. And it provides lovely non-egg water that's quite cold. The second well was here. The pump was in that same orientation. And there was a metal tube that they attached to the mouth of the pump over here that would collect the water. That tube went into this building called the milk house, where there's a concrete basin right inside here. It would be filled up with that nice cold water, and they would bring the jugs of the milk from the cows that they just milked in there to cool off. There's a tube at the bottom of the concrete basin that would drain the warm water out. The water that got pumped out, it came out that metal tube, and it would come into this basin that was used for the ducks. It was basically like a duck pond. Back over there is another shed that was indeed filled with wood when we got here in the late 70s. Right now it's got garden supplies in it. And then one other little building, the doghouse. It's dilapidated now, but complete with green shingles. It was probably big enough for a large dog. Of course, it had an entranceway on this side, and the back had a picture window. The barn, built in around 1920 by helpers. You can see the lumber apparently came from the woods. Chicken time, let's go find some chickens. They come in all sorts of different colors. Ericanas lay the blue and green eggs. These are the roosts where the hens will sit at night huddled close together. And behind you over here are the nest boxes where they go to lay their eggs. Notice the colors. The blue-green color is from an Americana. The very dark chocolate color is from the copper marins. The very light-colored ones are probably from the buff Orpington. We're gonna go see some garlic and dig some up. There are 30 kinds of garlic here. We plant it mid-October, and then we harvest it at 4th of July. With our spading fork, we're gonna dig straight down, because if I put it in the ground like that, it's gonna chop into the bottom of the garlic. So you can see it's starting to bulb out, just starting. Hopefully by 4th of July, it's gonna be like 2 inches in diameter. This is called spring garlic or green garlic. The whole thing is edible, but of course, as you get into the green, it's gonna be tougher. Okay, so now that I've garliced you up and egged you up, that's kind of the end of our program. You can hang out for a while, you can have some more refreshments, and thank you.